All right, YouTube. Believe we are indeed live here on the Allen Hour. We appreciate you tuning in here on this Tuesday afternoon. After a 4-game sweep of the Baltimore Orioles, the Yankees, Andrew, looked really, really sharp. We'll get to all the games. We'll cover everything that happened this weekend with the Orioles series, Andrew. But I believe the more pressing news, the passing of longtime Yankee broadcaster John Sterling. 1938 to 2026. He was the voice of the Yankees for 36 years, retired in 2024 after, unfortunately, the Yankees couldn't get him another World Series win. Had a 5,060 consecutive game call streak. Just a legendary voice for not only the sport, but in general in broadcasting. One of the reasons why I went into the field of broadcasting and sports journalism. He was one of the first voices I grew up listening to. In the car, especially. Baseball is definitely a sport made for radio. Oh, hello, Matt, in the chat. First, I see your comment there. But yeah, Andrew, I know you have a story to tell about John Sterling in your experience as well, and we're both on the younger side of things, so we didn't really get to experience him a whole lot. But while we did, it was a fun time.
um, is like within reach. The booth is very much on that level. It's not high up or anything like that or away from the fans. So Miguel Andujar, while I was standing up there, started hitting some foul balls, and I was like, you know what, I might stay here. Seems like he's hitting them straight back. Maybe I'll get one, and I actually did. And that's the ball I'm holding in my hand right now. It's a 2019 spring training ball right here with the Florida logo on the bottom. And once I caught it, I was like, wow, this is like a pretty neat baseball for one that you catch, right? You think it'd have all smudges or dirt marks on it. And I was like, this is a pretty clean baseball. I want to get it signed. So I waited for a pitching change, which I thought would have been a good time to go up to one of the booths. And I waited, and the pitching change was happening. So I went up to the window, and I can't see over the window, but I could see the top of John Sterling's head. And I kind of reached my hand in there, and I said, like, John Sterling, can I have your autograph? And I said it multiple times, and I didn't get a response at first. So I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh, maybe they are on the air. And the field mic was right above my head. So if they were on the air, they definitely could hear me. And then he poked his head out and he goes, don't you know we're on the air? And he said it just like that John Sterling voice. But he still signed my baseball. He took it from me. He signed it right here. A little scribble going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the sweet spot of the baseball. But he signed it there, and yeah, I'll always have that memory of John Sterling, and it's pretty cool to have. Yeah, he was a big role in both our childhood, driving to baseball games of our own, listening to him on the radio and stuff like that. And yeah, it's unfortunate, not the news we wanted to wake up to yesterday morning.
Now, Andrew, I will apologize in advance, and thanks, Matt, in the chat for letting me know. You were muted for a bit of that portion. I
Oh
caught it in
no.
time though for the sweet spot of that story. So I believe everything was heard. How you got the ball, you went up to him. So your words about John and the impact he had on you in the beginning, that was, I don't think, caught. But safe to say, Andrew just kind of echoed what I said. We just enjoyed the tenure that he had when we could experience it. Was one of our first guys on the radio that we really resonated with. The home run calls was the first thing that really stood out to you. And the thing to me was every time the Yankees got a new player, Andrew, especially when they hit, right? They were batters. You were looking forward to what Sterling was going to come up with. You were thinking, how is he going to come up with something now? Because I remember when Stanton was acquired by the Yankees and thinking, you're used to hearing Gardy Party, Judgy and Blast, All Rise, Here Comes the Judge. Like you're thinking of all these different calls, and those made sense. And it was Stanton, Giancarlo. It just didn't seem like it was going to be an easy one for him to figure out. And he just seemingly figured out everybody that the Yankees played for, or that people played for the Yankees. He just seemingly figured something out, and it always clicked. It always hit, and you were just like, "Wow, this guy, man, really, really creative stuff." And I know that people were talking about that at length yesterday. Susan Waldman did a bunch of public appearances on different shows throughout the afternoon, and then at the ballpark, everyone on Yes was interviewing her, and so she was kind of rehashing a lot of stories from their experience working together for as long as they did. So to me, that was always something that was kind of amazing. Just him being able to come up with different home run calls and nicknames for these players, for newly acquired players, especially, and then remembering everything, every name for those players. Because Susan even said that he didn't write anything down; like it was just all off of his memory. So kind of amazing that he didn't get it wrong or mix it up at any point, and he just seemingly kept everything straight in his head. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I also heard a lot yesterday that it wasn't a thing he like tried to do. It kind of just happened in the
Right.
beginning. There were only like a select few players that had home run calls, and then obviously I heard towards like 2008, 2009 is when he started incorporating that for everybody. And I heard him tell a story about like how he didn't have a home run call ready for Austin Romine when he hit his first home run, and as he was rounding the bases, it just like came to him, and he was like, "Romy, my homie." Yeah, that's an all-timer too. But yeah, I mean, just everybody knows John Sterling, and when everybody knows John Sterling, even if you're a baseball fan or not, I mean, it just shows how much of an impact he had on everybody.
Yeah. So rest in peace to John Sterling. Just a tough day yesterday. And Andrew, safe to say that the Yankees won that game in honor of John, 12-1, the most dominant game of the series. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think there was definitely some fuel, some added motivation. The emotions were high throughout the stadium all day yesterday. The pregame ceremonies with Michael Kay and Susan Waldman at home plate, putting flowers down on the dish. And then when they won the game, right, they had John Sterling, the Yankees win, right into Frank Sinatra, which Boone said he wants more of that going forward, which I concur, completely agree. I think that's a really, really good way to keep him involved, um, with the Yankees going forward. But Andrew, the Yankees just had a really, really good series overall, a dominant series at that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the overlay that we have displayed right now. Game one, 7 runs, two, 9 runs, 11, 12. So they just got better and better. And it's kind of what we asked for in our last episode, that we felt like a series that maybe we needed the offense to step up more than the pitching. Obviously, the pitching was still dominant in this one, but we had a feeling, that the Orioles were coming off a doubleheader, right? We mentioned that. We mentioned that they might be deep in their bullpen by Sunday, Monday, even Saturday, and that's exactly what happened. As the series went on, the offense got better. So it was awesome to see, especially last night. I mean, just the biggest lock of all time that they were going to win, the day John Sterling died. So yeah, just nice to see as a whole. We've seen the pitching be dominant all season long. The offense has been less consistent, so it was nice to see over a 4 game stretch like them to absolutely dominate every single game.
Yeah, it was really something to see. Let's go to game one, right? And the pitching for Will Warren continues, Andrew, to have a great season. Six and a third in this game, 3 hits, 2 runs, one of them earned, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. And it was really just the start for setting the tone for this series. The Yankees got after Cade Povich, who they called up before this start, and we had that conversation before the series about whether who the Orioles were going to have arms available wise, because they had a double header against the Astros on that Thursday because of a rainout Wednesday, and so you knew 2 games back to back it was going to be a toss up, a bit of a difficult decision for them going into that Friday game, who was going to pitch for them, who they were going to call up potentially. Cade Povich got the nod, and he had a couple of good starts this year, but in this one, the Yankees just got to him early, and it really wasn't like he just walked a ton. Like we've seen a lot this year with the Yankees offense earning 4 or 5 walks off starters, just 2 for Povich, but those 7 hits led to the 5 runs, got him out after 4.
Yeah, and the top of the order all had basically multi-hit games outside of Paul Goldschmidt. who ended up leading off this game. You saw Rice with a multi-hit game, Judge multi-hit game, Bellinger multi-hit game. Ahmed Rosario got a hit, Jazz
Right.
got a hit, Caballero got a hit, Wells got a hit, Grisham got a hit. So everybody was contributing. And we saw Grisham slide to the 9 hole in this game, which I thought was interesting, given his struggles against lefties and really his struggles in general. So I kind of like to see them mix things up there. But yeah, just hitting all around, and the whole lineup contributed, and it was awesome to see. Cave Povich, I mean, he has some good stuff. He has blow up potential, obviously, like any pitcher does. So it was nice to see the Yankees exploit that part of him.
So Andrew, real quick before we continue on, the
Sure.
obviously Ben Rice, the news that he was not in that fourth game, bit of a thumb issue. Doesn't seem like it's going to be anything serious long term, Andrew. But it is something to look out for going forward with Rice, that thumb issue.
Yeah, he seemingly heard it on a pickoff attempt back to first. Kind of got his glove like stuck in the dirt as he was trying to swipe tag the guy sliding into first. But yeah, should be all good. Was out of the lineup yesterday for the final game, but they listed him as day to day with a thumb contusion. So hopefully all is good there. It shouldn't impact him too much. It's on his left hand, which is not his throwing hand. So yeah, I mean, we should be okay there.
Yeah, hopefully it's nothing too serious because first in average, first in OPS this year in the majors. That's that's productivity you can't really replace that quickly. So hopefully nothing too damning for him. But yeah, again, 7-2 ball game. Ben Rice 2 for 5, 3-run homer, which was his 11th of the year at the time. He hit one later on in the series, so now he's at 12 on the season. Bellinger and Judge combining multiple hit games, 4 of 7 combined, two runs batted in, 3 walks, and a double. So really good game from them. Listen, there's a ton to cover with these 4 games. So if it seems like we're going quickly through these games, it's just because there's 4 of them, and seemingly like they up the ante every game going forward through the series. Because you look at game 2, right? 9-4 final score, and Weathers pitched. The strikeout numbers were not as high as we're used to seeing. Five for him, 90 pitches, but you didn't really see him collapse like we've also seen in other starts. So he had a pretty solid start. And again, another start for the Yankees where they seemingly just work a ton of walks, get guys on base. I mean, you talk about 6 hits and 4 walks. That's 10 base runners they get off Bradish in 4 innings, and they turn it into 5 runs, which was something that we talked about earlier on in the year. The offense is doing a nice job of fixing. We talked about how they were earning a ton of walks and they weren't translating into runs or as many as you would hope or think. Now that seemingly is changing. And in this series, again, 4 game stretch, they outscored the Orioles 39-10. So the Yankees were driving in runs in this series. This game in particular, the 4 walks, 6 hits turned into 5 runs off Bradish. The team looked really good in this one as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned Weather's not blowing up. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention how well Will Warren did in the previous game too. In game one, he went 6 1/3,
Mm-hmm.
1 run, 1 walk. I think 9 strikeouts. The guy's just he's been dominant. And for a guy that made 33 starts last year, kind of an up and down year, like some good months, some bad months, for him to kind of come out and be as consistent as he's been has been really huge. And you mentioned, Ryan Weathers, only the 1 run allowed in the 5 innings. But yeah, I mean, it's been a series of the Yankees offense, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, the pitching can pitch as well as they want when you're scoring close to 9 runs a game in the series, right? That's what's going to take over the story. And it was a huge game for Bellinger. He was a triple shy of the cycle, which he actually ended up getting a triple later in the series. Unfortunately, couldn't complete it in this one. But yeah, it was 4 for 4, had 2 homers, a double, just really mashed and really started getting going in this series, which is huge because we've gotten so much contribution from Ben Rice and from Aaron Judge. And kind of outside of those two, the guys that we're used to hitting home runs, like Stanton obviously has been hurt, and Grisham hasn't had the super duper power numbers yet. So it was really nice to see Bellinger kind of have that takeover series for once, in addition to Judge and Rice. So we saw what all three of those on in a series can look like. It can look a lot like this. So yeah, again, just awesome to see everybody in the lineup had a hit except for Judge, right? And if we could do that most times, that we'd be okay with that because we know Judge is going to have his games. We know Judge is going to hit a lot of homers and get a lot of hits. So yeah, the 2 walks for him as well. So he still got on base despite not getting hits. Yeah, just all around a really good game. And yeah, I just have a feeling we're gonna have a similar tone for the other two that we preview or cover.
Yeah, and Matt, if you're still in this stream, this is a game that you did not like watching, going up against him in fantasy. Yeah, Cody Bellinger. Just again, this is a huge game because I mean he's had games like this year, but in my opinion, not to this extent. 4 for 4 with 2 home runs, a double, 4 runs batted in, 3 runs scored, and he stole a base. Like this was just the all around complete Cody Bellinger game. But this is why he got paid what he got paid in the offseason. Like this is what he can provide, plus really, really good fielding in the outfield. It was nice to see from Bellinger putting up a performance like this because it's not all, I mean, no one really does this often, maybe besides Judge and Rice, but 4 for 4, 2 homers, a double, that's hard to come by. So I'm echoing what you're saying. This was super important to see. Not that we didn't think Bellinger could do it, but it's just nice to be reminded that he can do it in a series where everyone was seemingly clicking and he necessarily didn't have to show out like this. You know, if he had gone 0 for 4 in this game, maybe they drop, maybe they lose the game, but they win 3 out of 4, and you're still thinking, good series. But it was just nice to kind of see him pile on and really show what his worth to that contract because he got paid a lot of money for this. And a lot of people had their doubts. If you look at his years in Chicago, and then with the Yankees, it was kind of like an every other year where it was one year he'd do really well, the next year he would kind of fall off a little bit, then the next year it would go back up. And so people were expecting maybe a slight drop off this year because of how well he played last year. And right now, he seemingly is there is not really that drop off period yet that we've run into, which is a good sign going forward for this year and maybe into next year and stuff like that for that contract. But that's kind of how I looked at it. Just people thought it was time for him to have a bit of a drop off in productivity. Haven't seen it yet this year.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen it at all, and it kind of feels like he's escaped that three true outcome kind of player, which for those who don't know is a home run, strikeout, or walk guy. Which towards the end of his Dodger career, he really turned into, and the Cubs took a chance on him, and he had a really really good first year with the Cubs and a high average year, which is not something we've really seen out of Cody Bellinger since his MVP season. So there were signs that he was actually trying to become more of a complete hitter than more of like a get on base power hitter. And he's shown that in his first 2 seasons with the Yankees. He's looked extremely good. Even when he's not hitting, extra base hits, doubles, and homers, he's still finding ways to just get the ball in play, get on base. And yeah, he's been a really, really solid, consistent hitter behind two guys now in Rice and Judge. It's a guy we didn't have when we had Soto and Judge, who a lot of people are comparing currently Rice and Judge to. We didn't have Bellinger, right? Bellinger was kind of our Soto last year, kind of the guy that hit in front of and behind Judge and was supposed to get on base in front of Judge. Now we pair that with a Soto-like player right now in Rice, and you put Bellinger in that lineup. It's pretty insane how good they've been, that trio.
And we'll get to Bellinger a little bit later in the episode as well. His name
Yes,
will definitely be talked about more, at more depth. So make sure you stick around for that. But yeah, a great game too for Bellinger. Great to see for him this year and in what's a big season. And especially if this Rice injury maybe doesn't become a big deal, but if it lingers or maybe he hurts it again, you need a guy like this to step up and to show his worth in the lineup and to have big games like this where you don't. I know they had Ben Rice in this game, but say he weren't in the game, this is a big spot for a guy like Bellinger to provide, to show out, to show up during that paycheck. Going to game 3 now. Another big win. Again, I told you they outscored Baltimore 39-10 in this series. It was one of as dominant as it can get for a 4-game series. They win this one 11-3. Max Fried and Trey Gibson, both starters for the Orioles Yankees, both go no decision in this one. Max Fried goes 5 1/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. He ran into a bit of trouble in this game. Andrew, bases loaded at one point, but was able to keep it at just 3 runs, and that's all the Orioles scored in this one. And then the Yankees offense really poured it on after Trey Gibson was taken out of this one after 4 2/3.
Yeah, I feel like when people see this start from Freed, they're kind of like, it was kind of a mid Freed start. And if a mid Freed start's going to be 5 1/3, 3 earned runs, I mean, I'll take that mid, all the time. If that's the drop off, I'll take that all the time. But yeah, I mean, definitely wasn't his best because we've just seen so much better from Max Freed this year. But 5 1/3 puts you, and 3 runs put you in a position to win every single time, no matter what your name is. So if that's his low on the year, I think we're going to be winning a ton of ball games with him on the mound. And yeah, just another chance for it felt like the offense was kind of slacking in this game a little bit. You
Hmm.
mentioned no decision, which means the game was tied when Freed exited
Hmm.
at 5 1/3, but the Yankees able to pile on runs late and really separate themselves and give the bullpen an easier time.
Yeah, they McMahon had he reached on an infield single in the sixth inning that scored Dominguez, which made it 4-3, and then they had a 7-run eighth inning. The Yankees did to extend the lead to then 11-3. So you're right. So the game was neck and neck through both starters in this game. Freed comes out, Gibson comes out, Yankees score in the sixth, get that 1-run lead, and then they just poured it on in the seventh inning, and it just kind of again, the entire series just kind of seemed like, okay, which Oriole pitcher is going to come in and have their ERA and WHIP just skyrocket? Like that's kind of the vibe I got watching these games because the offense for the Yankees, it just no one could really stop them. I mean, Trey Gibson in early portions of this game, sure, but as soon as they brought in other guys out of the bullpen, seven spot in the eighth inning, and it just was like, all right, flip the switch, the Yankee offense back on track, and it carried into the next game where they scored 12 runs. So
Yeah.
it was just seemingly, like I said, it seemed like Baltimore was just putting in guys and it's like, all right, this guy's ERA and this guy's whip's just going to skyrocket. You have to tip your cap to the Yankees. 15 hits in this game, really, really sharp hitting wise. Right, right. Rice, Judge, Dominguez all homered. 6 runs batted in combined. McMahon went 3 for 4 in this one, and Goldschmidt had a two run single in that eighth inning, that 7 inning span, that 7 run eighth inning, I should say. So just really, really solid stuff. And when you have 15 hits for a team, Andrew, usually means everyone is hitting the ball. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. Everyone recorded a hit except for Grisham in this game, but he did have an RBI. He went 0 for 4. Schumann, I guess he pinch ran for Judge, or maybe he had a at
Yeah,
bat.
it probably got to the point where, they were crushing him so much that they just put him in his defense and let Judge get off his feet after the long weekend. But yeah,
Right.
this is just this is what you want to see. Like, you got a multi-hit game out of Rice and you got a multi-hit game out of Judge. Sure, fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to get from most of the season. You got a 3-hit game from Jason Dominguez, who's trying to make a name for himself back up here. And you got a 3-hit day from Ryan McMahon, who from an average standpoint has been really good the last 10, 15 games. So just seeing those guys kind of come around and contribute is going to be massive, because I guarantee you when it comes playoff time, those guys are going to be the ones that make the difference. Obviously, we need good performances out of Judge and Rice and Bellinger and all those guys at the top of the lineup. But if they're having good series, right, they're getting on base for the bottom of the lineup, and we've talked about it at length. That's what's going to be the difference as to whether the Yankees reach the mountaintop or not. Is can they be consistent all around? And this was a series that they were. We expected 3-1. That's what we expected. We think the Yankees are that much better than the Orioles. We expected 3 out of 4, and they went out there and they got 4 out of 4 in dominant fashion in all four. So just yeah, I just awesome. Just it's great. I mean, this is great. I'm really curious if Dominguez has carved himself kind of a bigger role, because I'm not remembering correctly. I don't know if I am, if it was this game or a previous game, but at one point he had 2 hard hit doubles against a lefty, which for a lot of people that have been following Jason Dominguez and his, uprising, he is seen as a switch hitter. Obviously, he bats from the right and the left, but the Yankees have been so hesitant to use him from the right side because he just hasn't been good
Right.
from that side. And he didn't bloop these doubles. He didn't trickle them down the line. These were hard hit doubles, and with his speed and his ability to get on base at times too, he could be a really, really special player. I mean, there's a reason that he was compared to Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout at the age of 15 years old or whatever it was. Was it fair at the time? No, it's never fair to be compared to Mickey Mantle or Mike Trout, but you can see he's got power, he's got speed. The only thing that's really trailing is his fielding, which I think in the end will probably hold him back from a consistent starting
Right.
job with the Yankees. I mean, until that improves, he's not really the 5 tool player. And it's not like his defense is like okay. It's times where it's really, really bad. I'm just curious how they handle the whole thing. It seems like when Stanton gets back, that's probably just going to go back to normal. He probably goes back to AAA. But who knows? I mean, the Yankees are operating different this year. It's been hard to predict some of the decisions they've made, because it seems like a lot of them have not followed at all what they've usually done in years past.
Now, real quick, just because I'm thinking about it, and now we're talking DH with Stanton and Dominguez and that whole dynamic and what that'll look like throughout the year. You and I, Andrew, saw a clip recently with, I believe it was Brandon Tierney, former FAN host. Now he has his own show on YouTube. But correct me if I'm wrong. He was talking to Michael. about the whole Volpe thing. This was before the passing of John Sterling, and he had mentioned that the future plan he would have done was essentially Stanton would not get postseason at bats. And I forget what the context of it was in the beginning, like who would play where and why Stanton wouldn't get DH spots. I wanted to ask you if you remembered that clip by chance, and if not, no worries. But I just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was a preposterous comment to make from Brandon Tierney, if I'm being honest. But I don't really remember the build up. I just remember him basically saying, "Yeah, Stanton would not be in the lineup in the postseason."
I remember him saying they wanted to go out and get Stephen Kwan,
Right, right,
which
right,
they would put in the outfield, which, I mean, who doesn't want Stephen Kwan? Obviously, I would love to have Stephen Kwan. I don't know where they would figure out a spot for him. But yeah, he had Stephen Kwan moving into the outfield. Obviously, that's where he plays. And he had who's playing center field this year, actually, Stephen Kwan. And then he had Bellinger moving to first, which puts Rice at DH and
correct.
obviously clogs that DH spot. So, I mean, Stanton at DH is just what I want in the playoffs. He's proven time and time again. Sometimes he's the only guy that shows up in the playoffs. So I'm not ready to move things around that much where I'm not using Stanton in a huge spot because I mean, look, as low as his batting average may be at times and as slumpy as he gets, you still look at him every single time when you're the pitcher and scout him and look to avoid him and don't give him strikes because no matter how bad he's hitting, as I just mentioned, he hits the ball harder than anybody in baseball. He has for the last decade. So
Right.
guys are looking to not give him pitches to hit. He's a guy that they have to avoid. And I mean, how many guys in the lineup do the Yankees have that you have to avoid at this point, right? You don't want to pitch to Rice. You don't want to pitch to Judge. Who the heck wants to pitch to Stanton in a playoff game? And then guess what? Then you have to pitch to Bellinger. Then you have to pitch to all these other guys, right? So I think he's enough of a presence in the lineup where I don't even consider that. I think I've heard people say they want maybe Volpe at third base or Volpe at second base, which ironically Aaron Boone kind of ruled out initially, but then was asked about it again and said he might be moving around in AAA. So I don't really know what their plan is right now. I've been watching this kind of regime since 2018 really, really closely, and I've kind of been able to predict their next move based on past experience. I've been kind of wrong on everything I thought that they would do so far this year. They've been really quick triggered, willing to pull guys in and out, and I think that speaks a lot to their depth. It speaks a lot to their minor league depth as well, with Elmer Rodriguez kind of apparently forming more of a role than just like an IL stint. Okay, you're up
Right.
here for a short period of time, so they're operating differently, and I'm excited to see where they go. And yeah, I mean the decisions will be interesting.
I think it's very refreshing too. A lot of Yankee fans, and including myself, have been wanting this kind of a rule, with managerial roster decisions being. And I understand if you're too quick, sometimes you make the decisions a little too quick that maybe you're not giving guys enough of a chance, right? You're not giving them enough of a sample size. But in the case of McMahon and Rosario, I remember very early on, Andrew, I was saying, listen, this guy, he's just not seeing the ball right now, whether it's fair or not. Ahmed Rosario has been putting at bats much better together. He's more of a contact guy. And you saw Boone make that decision pretty early on in the year and basically told McMahon without telling the media and the public saying like, listen, until you figure your shit out, Ahmed's going to play, even if it's against a righty. So figure it out. We'll find you spots. But for now, Ahmed's the guy. And they put him in and he made defensive plays late in games. But he has now figured out, he has put together better at bats as of late. So McMahon is now getting more chances to play at third, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say he shouldn't be playing because now he's actually proving he's seeing the ball. But earlier on in the year, maybe I would have been called too, it was too soon to pull the plug. But Boone went with his gut, right? Puts Rosario in. Now, same thing with this whole Volpe thing. Caballero is playing the position really, really well. From an offensive standpoint, he's doing much better than he's ever done. Like he's on pace to have a career year for himself offensively. And then the cherry on top is defensively, he is one of the better shortstops, if not the best, in terms of defensive runs saved and some of the defensive metrics. So it's really hard to pull him now at this point where we're almost we're a month and a half into the season and he's playing at this level. And Volpe is coming off of a year where everyone was saying Lombard, Lombard, Lombard. Like, where are we going to go at this position? Volpe is not playing up to where he should be. Last year, it was not playing great of defense. The offensive numbers, like the home runs were there, but the average was so low. Caballero, his average is I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but The average is in a spot where you're comfortable with him getting 4 at bats a game and you're not pinch hitting him at a certain spots. He's proven too, Andrew, to be a clutch hitter in big spots. You remember earlier in the year, he had a 2 RBI double against the Rays. That's just one example I can think of, but he has had a ton of clutch at bats as well, and he has proven that he can deliver in big spots like that. So Caballero, I mean, that's huge news. Volpe, that's the biggest one. When you talk about their quick trigger, their change in mindset of decision making. I thought this was a foregone conclusion, and I think you did too, that Volpe was going to be given a chance at least, right, at the major league level, maybe a week or two, maybe 3 weeks at the position, and then they make that decision. But right away, Boone's and company just go, no, you have to prove it in minor. Like he's phrasing it as, well, he's going to get a spring training in the minors. Okay, that's one way to say it. But essentially, you're saying Caballero is playing an elite shortstop right now, very good shortstop, offensively, defensively. You have to go play in the minors. And my thing too, Andrew, is at this rate, is it that outrageous to say that if there is an injury in the infield, God forbid, with the Yankees, and they're looking to call up somebody from the minors, that Lombard, if he's out playing Volpe in AAA, would get the nod at this point, right? Based on what we've seen. Like, I think Volpe has to outplay George Lombard in AAA to be that next on the totem pole to be called up to play second, third, short if there were an injury. I really do think that.
I mean, just based off experience, and I think they'd go to Volpe in that spot. But it is an interesting question, and again, they've been so unpredictable. I can't necessarily rule it out. But there was a similar decision made right when they brought up Jason Dominguez over Spencer Jones, who Spencer Jones has had a really good start to the year as well. But they kind of leaned on that MLB experience a little bit more. It's interesting. The whole thing is very interesting to me because they essentially ran out Volpe for 2 years without a plan behind him. They kind of said, "We're all in on you, kid." Like 2 years, and over those 2 years, and I'm not trying to be harsh, he was one of the worst hitters in baseball. I mean, it just is what it is. So, kind of going into year three, where it's kind of like, okay, this is year three. You've gotten a ton of run your last 2 years. Like now's the time to prove it. By the trade deadline, he hadn't proved it. And they actually went and got themselves, a shortstop in Jose Caballero that can kind of, poke the stick a little bit, or what do I say in this show? Stab the fork a little bit, and kind of nudge him and say, like, hey, like this position isn't yours
Right.
necessarily. They didn't have any depth at that position before Caballero. It was kind of just like, well, we have to play Volpe at short because the next best options like Oswald Peraza or Oswaldo Cabrera, like there wasn't a ton of depth at the position, so they were kind of forced to run them out. And I say forced; they did it to themselves, but yeah, and Caballero is playing great. The Yankees are playing absolutely fantastic. And let's face it, it's not like Volpe has been some all-star, all-time hitter when he's been up here. He's not been good. And do we really expect that to change right away in year four? Who knows? Maybe this is the breakout year we're waiting for. And I do think he'll have a role on this team towards the end of the season. But how could you take it away from Caballero right now? How could you say all you care about is winning and the best players play, and then go pull Caballero out of that
Right.
position? So I'm happy with the decision. I really am. And I think long term, maybe Volpe doesn't see it right now, or all the Volpe fans out there don't see it right now. I think this is best for Volpe. The guy barely had any AAA experience before coming up to the majors. Absolutely shined in spring, won us all over. We were all rooting for him to make the roster. And that was a decision we really didn't think the Yankees would make either, bringing him up right away with little AAA experience. And I think this is going to be better for him. I think he needs some motivation to get that role back. He was kind of just given it without any, consequence of losing it, and now he's lost it. And I think he's a good kid. I think he'll figure it out a way to get back up here and make an impact.
And I think that's why the Yankees traded for Caballero last year because they saw they didn't really leave themselves with any options, right? If Volpe started to struggle, right, you weren't going to call up Lombard from Double A from High A last year. He was too young then, and you could even make the argument now that he's still too young in his development, despite recently being called up to Triple A. So they left themselves with no options last year. They traded for a guy in Caballero who got spot starts last year, but they put themselves in a position this year where they knew Volpe was going to have some time off with the injury, with the recovery of that, and they figured, all right, we'll put Caballero out there, who has started at shortstop in this league, right? They're not counting on another young prospect who has never played in the majors to try and figure it out, right? In a 30 game sample size, and then go from there. They gave it to a guy who has been there, who's done it, and albeit hasn't had this kind of offensive success, they were just hoping that he could be a reliable glove and that could perform and that could provide, I should say. some quality at bats. He has overperformed from the plate. And I think really made that a difficult decision, but good on the Yankees for putting themselves in a spot with the depth that they could make this kind of a decision and not be handcuffed to bringing up Volpe by default. No matter how he played in his rehab starts, they gave themselves some protection there. And I think, too, if you haven't mentioned it already, it lights a fire under Volpe. Right now, it gets him
Yeah.
motivated to start performing.
Step the fork.
Right. That's it. Like, get him going, get the fire going. I heard Judge talk to him. They asked him pregame yesterday if he had spoken to Volpe. He said he was on the phone with him for 30, 40 minutes. So my guess is
Yeah.
Volpe was most likely, this is me speculating, ranting in a way, venting maybe to his captain, just kind of talking about how it's going to go from here. I'm sure Judge was kind of reinforcing him, telling him like, listen, you're a great player. You just got to go down there and do your thing. You'll be back up here in no time. But 30 to 40 minutes on a phone call is a long time, one-on-one. So things must have been said in that conversation. We don't know what, but we all know Volpe wants
Yeah.
to be up here, but he's got to show it. He's got to prove that he earns that position because Caballero did the same thing and he's earned his spot.
Yeah, and one last comment before we
Sure.
we go back into the
Yeah,
series
we still
here.
got one more game to go through.
Jose Caballero is not gone after this year. He's not gone after next year. He's not gone after the year after that. He's controllable until 2029. So it's not like Volpe can just sit back and say, okay, this is his year. Like he's going to be gone after this year. I'll get my job back next year. Caballero could be here for 4 years as the starting shortstop if he earns it, right? So that's a lot of pressure on Volpe too. Go out there, kid. I mean, the last time this kid had pressure on him to go win a job, he fricking batted like 400 in spring training and won all of us over, right? So go win it again. I do believe that he'll win the job again at some point. Maybe it's not this year because Caballero's just been playing so well and such a big vibes guy too. I mean, between him and Ahmed Rosario, they've just been two joys to have on the team. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the whole thing unfolds because it's just nice that they're not giving him the job, and he didn't earn it.
Right.
Let's just put it that way. Volpe did not earn it, and it's nice to kind of go back to that like you have to earn it mentality.
Yeah, there's I think it's meritocracy. It's merit based, right? The decision
Oh
now
yeah,
is merit based. So it's nice to see that kind of a change. And we talked about it with McMahon, Rosario, right? It's very similar decision making, and Boone is making these quick decisions, and I love it. Now, just to get back to the games, because we still have one more to break down. Game 4, which was we'll coin as the John Sterling game. They win 12-1 in honor of Sterling. Michael Kay, I thought, did an awesome job on that first inning Judge home run, calling it as if it was John Sterling, right? Making a similar call. It was really nice to see, and we all know Michael was close with John, worked with him, so the relationship was really close there. If you saw the clips online, Michael got emotional talking about it on his own show, but it was just you I don't want to say you knew the Yankees were going to win, but you could not imagine them losing,
you know,
right? In a game like
you know.
this. Yeah. You kind of just knew. Now, I don't know if I knew 12-1 was going to be the final score, but you had to know that based on all the emotions going on around the stadium that day, all the pregame stuff, Boone, Judge, everyone seemingly having a comment about Sterling, knowing him, right? Everything that was at stake. You just knew the Yankees were going to come out here and put up a crooked number. They win at 12-1. Schlittler, strikeout wise, Andrew did not have his best start, but again, able to get into that sixth inning. He was pulled, couldn't complete it, but the longevity of these starts is just continuing to be a constant for Schlittler, for Fried. And it again, we're going to cross a road when Rodon, Cole are ready to come back, and Boone is going to have to make yet another difficult decision of who to move out of this spot of the rotation to fill in these two guys. Do they go a six-man rotation? So some big decisions to come. But I think you and I would both agree with his decision so far. He's been 2 for 2 between Caballero with Rosario early on. So we'll trust him to make that call. But I just want to get your thoughts on this game, the John Sterling game.
Yeah, the John Sterling game. I mean, it's not tangible, but it just seems like when things like this happen, it's Derek Jeter's last game. It's Derek Jeter hits a home run for his 3,000th hit. A-Rod hits a home run for. Just seems like it's not tangible, but it seems like you just knew they were going to win the game just because this happened today. And the baseball gods, they shined down on them. It felt like even if the Yankees were on a 20-game losing streak going into this game, that it felt different. It did. And you mentioned Cam Schlittler. Obviously, the 2 walks in the 6th inning were what did him in, and he was frustrated with himself. That's not a thing that he's done a ton. Obviously, we've pointed it out numerous times. He doesn't walk people, so I'm sure he was a little frustrated with himself, and we saw it a little bit. But yeah, the offense picked him up, so he can't be too mad. When he's giving up 3 walks, which is I think his worst this year, and the Yankees are going out and scoring 12 runs, I think he could sleep a little better, knowing that they had his back in this game. And yeah, another multi-hit game for Judge. Saw Grisham rip 2 really big doubles, really hard hit doubles, and we've kind of previewed Baseball Savant on this show, and if you go look at Trent Grisham's Baseball Savant, it's looking like he's going to turn the corner. And I know a lot of people are like, he's batting 170. What is he doing in the leadoff spot?
Right.
The guy's still figuring out a way to get on base. He has not been, you know, unimpactful this season. He's gotten on base, which is what you need to do in front of the big boys. And I think eventually he's going to be a big boy himself, hitting home runs. It hasn't happened that way. I think he has the most outs hit above 100 miles an hour this season, which some people like exit velo, some people don't. Just shows he's hitting the ball hard, and they're not finding holes right now. Saw a similar thing with Ben Rice, obviously last year, and we're kind of seeing him bloom this year.
Right.
So yeah, I think Trent Grisham will come around, so I really like to see that. 2 doubles out of him. Everybody had a hit in the lineup except for Austin Wells, who got on base twice. So again, just an all-around masterclass game. I hope they turn it, and we'll obviously talk about this a little bit more later, but they got a big pitching matchup again. They face Jacob deGrom again tonight, so it'd be a good time to kind of roll that offensive um, momentum into a start against one of the best pitchers in the American League. We'll see. I mean, I wouldn't say the Yankees necessarily face the best pitching in the world these 4 games, but
No.
again, when you don't face good pitching, you have to slam them, and that's exactly what they did. And this game was no different. The John Sterling game.
Right. So we can't sit here and fault the Yankees offense for doing what they were supposed to do, right? This is what we talk about when they
Yep.
play bad pitching, just crush them, right? Don't go out there win 2-0, don't lose 1-0 like we saw in that Texas series, which is what we might get again tonight and tomorrow with Evaldi and with DeGrom going tonight. You might get some low scoring offensive numbers, but again, with how hot the offense was this weekend on a roll, the confidence, right? The Sterling game kind of runs into today, it carries over, it's at the stadium again. I'm sure there's still enough emotion and energy around the building regarding that whole situation. So you might get a DeGrom night where he just is going to get shelled. I mean, the offense is playing very, very well. So we'll get into that preview in a bit. But to your point, the pitching was not great this weekend for the Orioles, in part because of that doubleheader against the Astros. It set them back a bit in this series. Shane Baz started this game, did not pitch that well. He did go late into the game in 5 2/3, but he gave up 6 runs, 5 of them earned. And again, the walk total, Andrew, was high, 5 walks. And again, the Yankees able to cash in runs when they earn walks, which is a huge thing when you're making that argument for Trent Grisham, where the average is at 200, 180, whatever, somewhere in that range, and you're saying, well, he's making up for it walking a ton. And I agree with you if those walks turn into runs, right? Because the guys behind him ultimately have to then hit him in for that to matter, right? So the
100%.
argument, the issue people have with Grisham is that when there's guys on base with the 200 average, that's where that kicks in, right? A walk is nice because it passes the baton to a Ben Rice type of guy who seemingly no one can, get out. And if they do, it's a hard hit ball, whatever the case is. That's where the average concern comes in. And that's where the whole Brandon Tierney, Michael Kay discussion came in, because it started with Brandon Tierney having Trent Grisham as leadoff. That was an issue for him. And so he was seeking out acquiring Quan, which again, I don't know how realistic that is. The Guardians are usually pretty solid every year. They're in the running for the Central every season with Ramirez, with Quan. I don't know if that's a guy they want to give up. So I'm sure the Yankees have checked in multiple times on Quan over the years. Obviously, they have not dealt for him yet, so I'm going to assume he's not available. And if he is, it was too high of a price. This is an all-star type of outfielder that hits 300 plus year in and year out, so he's not going to be cheap. But again, if Grisham continues to walk, and the average will come if what you're saying is true with the exit velo outs being up there, and his expected batting average should be higher because he's just making a lot of unfortunate, unlucky outs. The average will climb up. Now, I'm not saying it'll be 250, but it won't be 180. It'll probably be 220, 230. and you hope the home run power comes with it. But if he's walking at a great rate, it kind of makes up for that difference there with Grisham.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at his bubbles, they're red. And
Right.
you look at his numbers, you wouldn't expect those numbers to be in the red. So it's nice to see that he's still hitting the ball hard, and hopefully he could turn it around because we're gonna need him. We're gonna need him.
So again, Yankees outscoring the Orioles 39-10 in this series. Andrew, let's get to the series MVPs before we head into the Texas Rangers series preview. I'll let you go first since you picked, or since I chose the MVP first time, the last episode. Uh, I feel like we talked about this pre-show. There were a bunch of answers you could have gone with, just because 39 runs in 4 games, right? You do the math, that's 10 runs a game on average. So there was offense everywhere, but ultimately you can only choose one. So who are you going to go with?
Yeah, I mean, it might have been spoiled through the overlays. I think he was on every single game preview overlay. I'm going to go with Cody Bellinger, who just absolutely raked this series. I think he had 7 extra base hits. He had a triple. He had 4 doubles, 2 home runs.
Yeah.
Hit 500 in the series. Had a stolen base. Did not strike out a lot. I mean, the guy did literally everything. And we kind of talked about going into this series how in a 4 game series can't really like predict a pitcher to an MVP. We kind of
Right,
knew it
right.
was going to be an offensive guy, just the sample size. And obviously, I picked Paul Goldschmidt, who played 3 games and probably had the worst 3 games out of anybody that played, but that's okay. Yeah, Cody Bellinger just absolutely raking and raked in the series. That 4 for 4 game was just so electric, and he could just literally do it all if he wants to. He plays such good defense. He's fast. He can hit for average. He can hit for power. He can walk. It's a really fun player to have and a really fun player to watch when he's on. And I'm glad he's on right now because it just seems like him clicking with Rice clicking and Judge clicking is just a magical blend. And I'm excited to see it continue.
Yeah, I made a little graphic here too, Andrew. Just a little nod to Dave Sims, Cody Bellinger. Hey now, because I mean, it was just a crazy, crazy series. It's honestly, it might be one of the more impressive series put together this year from an individual. And now, granted, it was 4 games, but the
It's
fact that he had 7 extra base hits, right? 2 homers, 4 doubles, and a triple, stole a base, drove in 7 runs out of the 39, it was an offensive series for everybody. But Bellinger was just lighting it up. And it didn't seem like he had a hit in every game, and it didn't seem like it mattered. Lefty, righty, lefty. He was just mashing the ball. He was seeing it well, and we talked about it earlier. But this is huge for the Yankees going forward. You need Cody Bellinger to have these kinds of performances. Now you hope that the averages shake out where obviously you love 4 for 4 games, but you would love to have it on a stretch where it's 1 for 3, 1 for 3, 1 for 3 more consistently than let's say 0 for 4, 0 for 4, and then 3 for 4, where you'd get the same average over a 3 game stretch, but you would rather a hit in every game than no hits in two and then 3 in 1.
right.
You hope for consistency like that throughout. Not to say that he hasn't done that, but just showing you in this game, in this series, where he just compounded 4 games, had multi hits in 3 of them, I believe. It was just he finished 8 for 16. That's the average. Uh, Really, really well put together series. Great pick. I picked Ahmed Rosario, Andrew, so I'm not too far behind you on the guy who seemingly did next to nothing in a series where there were 40 runs scored. So for me, my MVP was Aaron Judge, and I could have gone in multiple directions. As I said in the beginning, 40 runs scored, everyone did something right. But for Judge, for him to then hit 428 in a 4 game stretch, 2 homers, had the same number of RBIs as Bellinger with 7, and he worked 6 walks. So you figure adding on to those hits, I don't remember the exact total of hits he had, but you add those 6 walks, he was on base double digit times in the series. 6 walks in 4 games. Like, I just thought that Judge really, really had a tremendous series. And then the cherry on top, Andrew, was the first inning home run of the John Sterling game. Set the tone, got everyone on their feet. You heard the Michael K call. It was really, really cool. So even though he didn't really particularly hit it for John Sterling in that way, I know he just, but it just kind of was like very fitting that he had a home run to start that game. And he even said afterwards, after the game, while he was rounding the bases, he was like chuckling to himself because he was thinking about what John Sterling would be saying right now if he was calling the game. Like, it just, you felt all the emotions. The players felt it. He was thinking about it as he was rounding the bases. So it kind of shows you how everyone, it was on the top of their mind. So really, really cool to see that and to hear that from Judge because I don't think he's lying, right? Just to bring up Sterling and to integrate him in some way. I truly do believe him that he was saying, I'm rounding second base, and I'm chuckling because I'm thinking of what John Sterling would be saying right now. So really, really cool. Aaron Judge had a phenomenal series, but so did the entire Yankee lineup. I think this might be the first series, Andrew, where we could gift an award to like the entire lineup because it just seemingly everybody
Yeah.
played a key role.
Yeah, the good shit award. Let's go. Good shit. Let's do it again. Next series.
We might have to add that to the show, the Good Shit Award, if it's a pitching
Yeah.
staff award or if it's for the entire lineup. Uh, yeah, I'll consider that. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just
uh,
simple, man. Good
yeah, right.
shit.
That's it.
Love it.
That's it. All right, so let's get to the Texas series. That's what's going on tonight, the first
Yep.
game of three. Elmer Rodriguez against DeGrom in this one. And we talked about this team not too long ago, Andrew. If you're tuning in and you're going, hey, didn't we just play them? You are correct. It was like a week ago to the day. They were down in Texas, and the Yankees will see two of the three pitchers they went up against in that first series against the Rangers in DeGrom and Evaldi. The Yankees were able to win the game against DeGrom. The Evaldi game, the offense was completely shut down by Evaldi. He had a 7 inning masterclass of a start. But let's start with the first game. Again, they got DeGrom in Yankee Stadium. Elmer Rodriguez had a pretty decent start, Andrew, for his major league debut in Texas. Now he gets his second chance to build off that. What do you expect from Rodriguez? What do you expect from the offense after a lights out 4 game weekend against the Orioles?
Yeah, I'm hoping to see Elmer walk a little less. He has a low walk rate in totality in the minor leagues, but I mentioned last week I kind of looked at him this season before he came up, and he's been walking some guys, and that transitioned over to the major leagues. So maybe a little bit less walked for him. He should be nice and motivated. His cousin finished first in the Kentucky Derby,
Yeah.
and his other cousin finished right behind him second in the Kentucky Derby. So he should be nice and motivated to be legendary like those guys were over the weekend. And yeah, I mean, facing DeGrom stinks, right? You don't want to face DeGrom, but if you're going to face him twice in a week, or twice in almost the span of a week, it feels better, right? It feels like you should be almost not used to him, but more familiar with him going into this game. And obviously, you mentioned we see Evaldi as well. These are the three best pitchers on the Rangers.
Right.
Mackenzie Gore strikes out a ton of guys. Obviously, we know what Jacob DeGrom does, and we saw what Nathan Evaldi did to us last week. These are the three best guys we're going to face for the Rangers, and we're throwing out three. I would say three of our best guys. They're all pretty damn good, and I think Weathers was the only one that didn't pitch against the Rangers last week. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Will Warren pitched against them. Yeah, I expect the offense to kind of transition. Again, they didn't face any of these pitchers in the Orioles series. None of them are the quality of any of these three. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be an 11-1 victory or anything like that. But they should, they have some momentum. Why not carry it into a big series like this? You stay home now. You get the Rangers at Yankee Stadium. The weather is going to be nice and warm today. It should be nice and warm
Yeah.
for the rest of the
True.
week, too. Ball should be flying. Let's go hit some homers. The boys are hot. Let's rock it.
So did a little bit of fact checking here. Will Warren did not play against the Rangers. It was Rodriguez who got the final start of that series where they lost 3-0, and then it was Fried and Schlittler who got the first two starts.
So two new pitchers.
So right, so the Rangers will face Rodriguez again, where Rodriguez finished 4 innings, 4 hits, gave up 2 runs, walked 4, which is what you were concerned with, and you hope he improves upon this start. He struck out 3, did not give up any home runs, so he kept the ball in the ballpark at least, which was nice to see. But this will be the first time Warren, Weathers going up against this Ranger lineup. And on the contrary, the Yankees now facing DeGrom, Evaldi for a second time, and for the first time, Mackenzie Gore. The third starter they faced was Jack Leiter in that first series, which the Yankees did a nice job against. But then he kind of settled in as the game went along, and he kind of kept the Rangers in it if there was to be a comeback. So you're right. The Yankees now facing the three best pitchers that this team has to offer, but it is their second crack at Evaldi and DeGrom. So you hope to see some slight improvement. Now, again, it's difficult because these guys are really good at what they do. Like they're the best pitchers on this team for a reason. Evaldi, we said last week, kind of an up and down season for him, but I just had a feeling he was going to have somewhat of a dominant game. He seemingly does against the Yankees. I don't know if it's a revenge thing or if he has a grudge against the Yankees just because he played for them for a couple years and then he hasn't been with them since, right? I don't know if there's an external factor for him to just show out, but seemingly he just pitches well against the Yankees. So it may be trouble. But again, with Will Warren on the mound, I feel very confident that even though it's not a Schlittler or a Fried, that he'll go 5, 6, maybe 7 innings of really dominant baseball, right? Which is it's really rare. You look around the league, not many
So
teams
rare.
have this kind of a starting lineup or a starting pitching rotation depth where you're on your quote unquote fourth starter and you're confident that he can go toe to toe with a Nathan Evaldi. So I'm hopeful the offense improves from that last series against Texas and, is not 2 runs against DeGrom or 1 run against DeGrom, no runs against Evaldi, and they're able to build off of this weekend's offensive success, albeit against worse pitching. I just hope they can kind of build off of it, roll right into today, no off day. The confidence is still flying high. Texas coming into your building now. And maybe we get a better start from Elmer Rodriguez. Again, it was his first career start when we
Yeah,
last
why
saw
not?
him. So let's see it.
Yeah, why not, right? And I think the biggest thing for me now, just looking at this series again after hearing you talk about it, they had length last time. The Rangers had length. I
Yeah.
think they all went at least 6 innings. Evaldi went more than that. So let's limit that. I mean, that was a big thing against the Orioles. We got the starters out kind of early, didn't let them go too deep into any of the games. So yeah, get to that bullpen, and maybe by the third game or so, we're facing some guys that stink, and we can really start to pound them. But yeah, length is
Yep.
huge on both ends. Not, don't take me out of context there, but our length is good, and
That's a
and
clip.
making sure their length is not good is huge.
That's a clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, DeGrom went 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. And again, the big thing that I mentioned was no walk. And I predicted that he was just not going to walk people, which has been a recipe for success for the Yankees. Multiple walks off starters turn into runs. He is a dominant pitcher that does not award free bases. So this first game tonight is going to be difficult for the Yankees if they can't get traffic on the bases via the walk. Puts a lot of pressure on guys like Grisham, which people have issues with the average, right? Now you're in a spot where very unlikely he's going to walk you. You have to put the bat in the ball and find a spot either in the outfield or get through the infield to get on base. And that's where that whole argument for average comes into play. When you face guys like this that don't walk people, now it puts pressure on the average guys or on the average to show up to be able to create traffic that way. Uh, the lineup, Andrew, I don't believe is out yet, correct?
Now it'll probably come out toward 3 o'clock.
So we don't know if Rice is going to be in this lineup today or not. Um, if he is, to my point about average, that helps tremendously. He's hitting at an insane rate in the mid threes. Judge obviously ramping up. Cody's been hitting, has been hot, righty lefty there. So you do like some of the matchups, but again, for a guy that doesn't walk a ton of guys, it is concerning to now have to rely on mainly hits, right, to get your traffic. The Yankees are so good at earning walks, but with a guy that doesn't really walk a ton of guys, it's going to be a challenge tonight, I imagine. And the same thing goes
Challenge
for
for sure.
Evaldi.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but this is like not that we're going to face necessarily the Rangers in the playoffs, but we're going to face the better pitchers of the league when we get to the playoffs. So
Right.
we need to kind of perform against the better pitchers. And again, we could beat up as much as we want against the bad pitchers, which is exactly what we need to do, and
Hmm.
we've expressed that in this episode. But we're not going to be facing, Cade Povich in the playoffs most likely, and
Right.
all those other guys. We're going to be facing the Jacob deGroms of the world. So you kind of got to go out there and prove that you can hit the good pitching. And that series that the Yankees just had against the Orioles. We talked about them being close to 30th in average about a week ago, probably entering the other Rangers series. They're now in 14th after that series, so they're they're,
Wow.
they're climbing in that regard. Their on base percentage is right up there at 6. They lead the league in walks. They are second, tied for first in the league in stolen bases, which is, if you've been a Yankee fan in the Aaron Boone tenure, that is not something you're used to seeing. I mean, they're just right up there in almost every single stat. So the offense is absolutely banging. They're second in runs behind the Braves, which if you've watched the Braves, I mean, the Braves have been nuts.
Hmm.
Braves have been insane. They have a team OPS over 800. Yankees at 790. So trending in the right direction for sure. That series was huge, and let's keep it rolling against some of the best pitching in the American League.
And the one point I'll make, Andrew, that we did not even touch on with the Baltimore series is
Yeah.
we're reiterating the importance of division wins. Since being swept by Tampa, for the first division series of the year. The Yankees are now 7-0 in the division.
That's
Three-game sweep
huge.
of Boston, four-game sweep of Baltimore. They go play Baltimore on the road uh, next a week from today. They'll be down in Baltimore for three more. So it's huge being able to turn it around from 0-3 and now they're 7-3 in the division, right? I mean that, and so you talk about wild card seeding, division seeding at season's end, and they have yet to play Toronto. So and Toronto has struggled, but we'll see how they match up against the team that eliminated them last year. But that was one other thing. It's nice to see the Yankees turning it around, getting some big division wins. Now 7-3 in the division.
Division wins are huge, especially now over the last couple years where we're playing every single team in the major leagues. So we get less division games, we get less cracks at these teams. So, yeah, it's huge. Now you could argue, I mean, the Orioles and Red Sox have not, especially the Red Sox, have not been good. But that's what you need to do. Being 7-0 against teams at the bottom of the division, that's what we need. And the Rays have been good. They're 10 games over 500. Their run differential doesn't necessarily impress me, so I think they might start trending to more of a downward position. But I mean, that's the best team that we've played in the division so far, and we struggled. So I don't know when the next Rays series is, but I'm kind of hoping for it because I do want to kind of prove to them that, like, hey, we can go up there, and I want to prove it to myself. I want to see it for myself because, again, yeah, division wins are huge, but it did come at the bottom of the division. So I'd like to see it against, maybe some of the teams that we're going to be seeing towards the end.
Well, I'll tell you what. So I mentioned that they go to Baltimore next week for a three-game set, which they come back home to play.
Which, what is that? Uh, we go Rangers, Baltimore, Rangers, Baltimore. Is that what is happening?
Baltimore Rangers at Milwaukee at Baltimore. So they
Okay, so
sandwich.
there's a Milwaukee in
It's a week
between.
from
Okay.
today they play Baltimore. So yeah, the weekend they're in Milwaukee.
Okay.
But what I was gonna say is 2 weeks from today, the 18th, that would be, or I'm sorry, we're recording this Tuesday. I keep thinking it's Monday. But essentially 2 weeks from today, they have a 7-game stretch at home, Andrew, homestand. Four against Toronto, and then a weekend series against Tampa. So to answer your question, towards
Huge.
the end part of this month, they will have a big 7-game homestand of the division, four against Toronto midweek, and then the weekend series against Tampa. So that will be, aside from at Baltimore next week, or that will be a huge 7-game homestand, which we will talk about at length when we get down closer to that part of the schedule. But just to answer your question of when they play Tampa next. So they do have three. They have a chance to right the wrong against that 3-game sweep, but we'll see when we get there. And they have a 3-game set at Citi Field in between Baltimore and Toronto. So a whole lot going on this month. A lot of series to look forward to for the Yankees upcoming. Now, let's get to our series MVP picks, Andrew, for this Texas series. I remember, I believe you won your pick for the last time these two played last week. I think you picked, was it Ben Rice or was it, and you know what? I
Oh, I
think you
don't
picked Judge.
remember
I
going.
think you picked Judge.
I think I did pick Judge, and
Yeah,
Judge had a nice series. Yeah.
yeah. So you're 1-0 this year in Yankee Texas series. Now there's only two chances, so this is your only other opportunity to go 2-0 with the Texas Rangers and the Yankees. So I'll let you go first for who you think is going to go win the MVP. Just to update, you were on a 2 series win streak. You were at 4-5 after this week. You're now 4-6, but it has been a pretty good run for you. In comparison, when you look at me at 2-8, I envy your 4-6 yearly record.
Yeah, I'm a bubble guy, and bubbles. I'm referring to Baseball Savant, and I'm gonna coin a phrase that you trademarked a week ago, going into that Texas series. I'm gonna take Texas Trent to be my guy this series. Trent Grisham.
Are you
He's
kidding me,
facing
bro?
two righties.
Are you kidding me?
Were you gonna take Trent?
Dude, I was going to double down on my Texas Trent. Yes. Oh,
That's
no.
unfortunate because I do pick first.
Oh,
So I will take
no.
Texas Trent. Maybe I'll talk a little bit longer so you can think about who you're picking.
No, that's
But yeah,
fine.
I'll take
Oh,
the two righties. I think he's going to struggle against Mackenzie Gore for what it's worth when they get to that third game. So I do think getting these next two games is going to be important for me if I'm going to win this series MVP. But yeah, I'm going to pick Texas Trent. I think he's trending in the right direction. Obviously, I mentioned those two hard hit doubles, and that suggests that maybe he's going to start playing to what the numbers expect him to be playing to. Um, in a huge series for a lot of guys, and I think he's going to get involved in this one. I think he's going to get on base a ton too, even if he's not hitting the ball. So maybe he'll poke a couple out in the short porch again. Nice warm weather for the guy. Still hitting the ball hard. So yeah, I'll take Texas Trent, but in the Bronx. And I'll now pan it to you and see who you panic pick.
God, you stole my thunder. It's like I was ready to go.
Come on, he didn't win for you. He's going to win for me.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to win with my coined statement of Texas Trent, and it's going to be in the Bronx, and he's just going to mash. It's okay. It's okay. Because you know what? At least then I can sleep at night saying I would have picked the correct guy if it ended up being Trent Grisham. That's where my head was. So I will have a slight win in my head if that happens, because that's the direction I was going to go. So not to say that I'll take some claim to it, but I'll be able to sleep at night knowing my first pick was what he was thinking, and that's what came to fruition. But that's okay. I always, and I'll say this. It's nice for my ego to think that, Andrew, you're thinking on the same wavelength as me. So I'll take it. Okay. Where I'm going to go with this. All right. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go with the guy that was just incredibly, incredibly hot this weekend. Could not get him out. He's going to carry it over into this series. Cody Bellinger, lock it in. Had a tremendous weekend series against Baltimore. He's going to face two more righties in this series, albeit it is DeGrom and it is Eovaldi, so two tough right-handed hitters. But I do think that confidence from this weekend carries into this series. I don't think he cools off. I think he performs well. And I think where my point comes in is that third game against Mackenzie Gore. If he can get a hit or two against Gore, provide some kind of an RBI double, something in there against a tough lefty like Gore, I think that's a big case for me to make for Bellinger to win MVP in a game where I don't envision a ton of hits overall from the Yankees, and maybe in the series in general. If we have another low-scoring series like that first go-around in Texas, a couple hits from Cody Bellinger and a couple different big spots across 3 games it might be all I need to make my case when we come back here later in the week to recap it all. So I'm going to go with Cody Bellinger, the hottest bat in the line, one of the hottest bat in lineups right now. Between him, Judge, Rice, it's a toss-up, right, any given day. But I'm going to go with Cody Bellinger. Had a tremendous series this weekend.
Love it.
And that's,
Great
again,
against lefties too. And you're going to be getting him against Mackenzie Gore.
Listen, I'm taking that gamble. I do think that if he can get a hit or two in that game, it's going to be worth a lot for my argument. So I'll go with Cody, even though I wanted Texas Trent.
That's okay.
What a shame. All right, well, I can't really complain. Again, you chose the guy I was going to choose, so I'll take it.
You sound like you are complaining.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. All right. Real quick before we head out of here, just to look at the ABS stuff for both teams. We looked at this recently. Again, just last week they played each other. The Rangers still low in the league in attempts on both sides. They're 25th and 29th for batting and pitching attempts. Their pitching challenge hit rate at 52% ranks 25th in the league, 12 of 23. Where it stands out, though, is their success challenging pitches at the dish in the box. 14 of 26, 54%. That's 5th in the major leagues. So if you're looking for what they might do in this series particularly well or not so well, it seems that when they do challenge bats, pitches in at bats, they seemingly do a better job than most teams in the league. So just look out for that in this series. And then for the Yankees, they challenged, I believe, 5 times in this series, because I think I looked at it. It was 40 batting attempts. Now it's 45. So they challenged 5 times at least from the batter's box. They're now still second in the league. The Yankees continue to challenge the second highest rate in the league. 20 of 45, 44%, tied for 20th. Pitching, 40th, tied for 14th. And they're 24 for 40, 60%, tied 13th in the league. So, again, I like to just provide these numbers because it is a new stat, Andrew. ABS is something that we're all looking at. And I think the big thing, Andrew, round of applause, by the way, Jazz Chisholm finally got an ABS call correct. So give him a round of applause for defying the odds. And now I believe we'll let him challenge now. Is that where we're at now with the...
I hope not. That challenge wasn't great either. It was close. It was really close.
What?
When you said round of applause, I thought we were applauding me for some reason. I was trying to think of what I did right.
No.
Shout out to Austin Wells. I don't have the numbers on hand, and I don't know if there's like a website where I can find this, but he's been like magnificent at ABS challenging, like really, really good. Like it almost seems like anytime he challenges, I'm kind of confident he's going to get it right. And that's huge because he's a huge framing catcher. And I think a lot of people were worried that ABS might ruin the framing catcher. And to some extent, it does. But, you know, they frame when they know it's a ball, right? They know the strike zone better than anybody. And Austin Wells has been really, really good at it. So continue that.
I think the big thing too, to your point before we sign off, is a lot of, because there's only two per team, a lot of teams, a lot of players are hesitant to use them early on in games because they don't want to lose them for late game moments. So framing still matters early on, especially when you put that
Yeah.
batter in a position where he goes, do I really want to challenge this pitch in the second inning? And if I get it wrong, we only have one for the remainder of the game. So I do think that, and again, I'm sure there's a stat out there for percentage of challenges used pre fifth inning and post fifth inning, and I'm sure the number is higher for post fifth inning. If that's how they split it up, that's how I would, the first half and the second half of the game. So there is still an art to framing because now you put the ball in their court. Do I want to challenge this early on? And I would imagine the numbers would support my claim that more challenges are coming later on in games.
Well, I'll tell you what, we saw it yesterday. Adley Rutschman had a 2-2 count to Aaron Judge that he could have challenged in the first inning, and it would have been a strikeout, and it went to 3-2, and we all know Judge eventually hit the homer. So, yeah, I
So there
mean,
you go.
I like it. I think ABS has been awesome so far.
ABS
I
has, yeah,
still have yet to experience it in the stadium, which is what I really want to do because they have the box there, right? Obviously, when we're watching the game. So you kind of know going into a challenge whether it's going to be right or not. But when you're in the stadium, you don't have that box. So I'm actually intrigued when I go to a game to kind of see that because I'll have no idea. And my genuine reaction will be like watching the big screen and seeing the ball in the zone. So I think that's going to be pretty cool.
100%. Well, listen, 4-game sweep of the Orioles this past weekend. Yankees now improved to 24-11. They face the Texas Rangers for a 3-game set at the stadium. And then they go to Milwaukee for a 3-game set. We'll be back here on either Thursday or Friday to break all this down and then to preview the Milwaukee series. So make sure to subscribe, follow us on our social medias here. There will be links in the description below for other sites, our other social media accounts. So make sure to check us out there. Like the stream. Man, there you go. Like the stream. Make sure to comment down below on your thoughts on the Volpe option, right, to AAA. Big news there. Any funny or memorable John Sterling moments with you? Drop it down below. I'd love to read it about it. Andrew had the foul ball signed down in spring training, which I know a part of that was muted for. I apologize, but make sure to comment down below any good John Sterling moments that you've had, any memorable calls that stick with you. Just let us know down in the comments. Would love to read anything you have. So again, we appreciate you tuning in. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you back